Please, moderator, you can go ahead and start.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's session. I am Phoebe Ebusereme Amos, and I'll be your moderator for today. And I'm really looking forward to exploring the intricacies of power industry with all of you. We have a fantastic lineup of mentors who would share their valuable insights and expertise. And our agenda today includes mentor's presentation, the mentee's presentation, and a question and answer segment where you get to connect directly with our mentors. Let's make this section interactive and engaging. Please, you are advised to turn on your videos and join the conversation. Without further ado, let's get started. It is my pleasure to introduce our mentors for today. Our first mentor for today would be Uhobo Igyang, who was called to bar in 2015. After that, he worked for a couple of leading law firms before leaving for his master's studies in the United Kingdom and France. He recently bagged a master's degree with a distinction
Phoebe, are you still with us? We can't really hear you.
Okay, yes, I'm back. I'm so sorry for that. That was a bit of a glitch. Thank you very much. All right, so I would go on with the introduction of the mentors. Our first mentor being Urobo Iang was called to the Nigerian bar in 2015. After that, he worked for a couple of leading Nigerian law firms before leaving for his master's studies in the United Kingdom and France. He recently bagged a master's degree with a distinction grade in international LNG law and policy from the University of Dundee, Scotland, United Kingdom. He was an international legal intern at Boothlead Long, a renowned commercial law firm with offices in Michigan and other states in the United States of America. Before embarking on the internship, Urobo worked as an associate energy and natural resources practice at the law firm Stem Sowers and Corn, Lagos, Nigeria. He is currently an executive associate in the Energy and Natural Resources Practice team of Bloomfield LP, Lagos, Nigeria. Also an associate member of the Chartered Institute of Arbitration, UK. Uboho has a keen interest in energy and natural resources law and hopes to focus on this area of practice in his career long term. Our second mentor for today would be Okogene, who is a top-tier gas and energy professional whose experience spans the upstream and midstream and downstream sectors. He is driven by academic, market expertise, market research, and work-train experiences, which is reflective in the professional experience and education. He graduated from the University of Science and Technology and he created his career sorry for that. I would like to proceed. He graduated from the University of Science and Technology, where he started his career in mechanical engineering. This followed with several master's degrees in project management, subsea engineering, and an MBA from schools in the United Kingdom and Rwanda. His oil and gas career took flight when he joined Tillion Subsea Limited as a subsea engineer and ROV pilot working for upstream companies like Nigerian Petroleum Development Company and Total Energies. He then moved to a small oil and gas startup called MG Vogas Limited that was then a major player in the NAOC, Ajib law in bios, and offshore pipelines and crude storage infrastructure and development and operations in Bayelsa State. Please, can I confirm you can hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you. During this role, he led infrastructure growth projects and was the mastermind of the conception and construction of the world-class Mount Zion fabrication yard, currently sited in Transwoji waterfront in Port Harcourt, Rivers State. He later joined the crude oil evacuation and made STEM oil and gas, which was then the most successful marginal field operations. This company called Umigini Pipelines Infrastructure Limited was and is a well-structured crude transportation and terminal operations startup. He joined to head the field operations and maintenance team in Delta State to run the robust strategy put on ground by the promoters of that special purpose vehicle, which is still making waves today. He's currently the head technical of Energy Link Infrastructure Limited. He has, in the past 2 years, ventured into renewable energy and electronic vehicles as part of his commitment to energy transition to greener, more sustainable energy mining and consumption. He has mentored several young engineers, energy enthusiasts, and lecture management and he is a registered engineer and entrepreneur, a fellow of several professional bodies and energy broker engaged in project management, business optimization, and crude evacuation studies, especially for startup and growing companies. Thank you very much. It is my pleasure to introduce our mentors today. However, we are honored to have such exceptional professionals with us today. Now we'll proceed with the presentation of our mentors. Would like to call on Mr. Okogene, and would like to state that for each of our mentors would have approximately 20 minutes for each of our presenters. Thank you very much. You're welcome, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Williams, can you confirm that I'm the one presenting? I didn't get that clearly.
Yes, sir, you're the one, sir.
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much. And again, every time we have the opportunity as mentors to be on Gypsy, to share our knowledge with the younger generation, I think it means so much to us. So once more, thank you, Gypsy, for the opportunity. And to the mentees out there, also your eagerness in being a part of the energy industry, I think is commendable. And with time, you begin to gain the kind of experience you require. We have been in myself, I've been in industry for about 20 years and counting now. And it started gradually. We began to try our hands, volunteer on different things. And today the story is quite different. So I think being on this platform gives you not just the opportunity to be a part of the energy industry, but also to hear from seasoned professionals that have made a mark in the industry. I'm currently transiting, so I'm actually joining through my phone. I might not be able to go into my presentation and open this slide, but just to give the students an overview of what the power industry is at the moment. And the power industry is a very, very important sector, not just in Nigeria, not just in Africa, but in the entire world. As we speak, I'm currently sitting in Manchester Airport in the UK, and all around me there's power. There's constant power in the UK. Everywhere I've stayed here, I flew in from Scotland, and again, that's one of the power hubs in the United Kingdom where I touched on wind energy, right, as part of the important part of energy. I have a few pictures of some of the things I did here for wind energy and coming back again to join the fossil fuel. If you paid attention to my profile, initially I was into fossil fuel, but now I'm going into other forms of energy because I see that there's a lot of relationship between every part of energy, and the idea is to harness this energy together through the energy mix, and we're able to generate more reliable energy for our own part of the world, being in Africa. So just to talk about the power is very, very important, especially for the Nigerian economy. You will agree with me. A lot of you are currently joining with your phones or joining with a laptop and you don't have power in your house. And that is a disadvantage for enabling businesses. For you to have a proper economic power in every economic development, power is one of the requirements. Businesses are being shut down today in Nigeria because power is not available. The cost for running business is increasing because power cost is increasing. I have a business I'm running, and some days we have to buy diesel, some days we have to spend so much unnecessary costs that shouldn't have been. So that is how important. If there's no power, economic development is very, very slow. And this cuts across many countries in Africa. Only very few countries in Africa have constant power, and that's why we are called underdeveloped countries, and that shouldn't be. We have the resources, we have the knowledge, we have the human capital, we have all it takes to have constant power. Why don't we have constant power? And this is the huge question, which we think that if our generation is not able to solve these problems, you, the younger generations coming, you should be able to look into this sector and provide reliable power. I want to give kudos to the current president and his current advisor in the energy industry, Valujen, for being so pragmatic when it comes to not just the fossil fuel industry, but the energy spectrum generally. And in the energy sector has done well for the past 12 months. There's been consistent improvement and growth. And I believe we are going to build on that. And so I believe in the next 5 to 10 years, we should be able to get something close to constant power in the Nigerian power generation. But again, power generation is very, very important. I also want to use the opportunity to touch on power transmission and power distribution. I'm sure most of you will know that when we talk about power and economic development, we don't only mean power generation, we also mean power transmission and power distribution. When power has been developed or generated, there's also an arm that does distribution, and that is called TCN. Transmission Commission of Nigeria is responsible for transmission. So just to give you guys a brief, the initial model for power generation and transmission in Nigeria was that they have different power generation, hydro, if I may put the initial one, we had many hydro stations and mini hydro stations where the power is generated, and then they feed that power generation into the national grid. And I'm sure a lot of you must have been hearing national grid for the past 3, 4, 5 years. National grid is collapsing. So what that means is these substations spread around Nigeria in different places. They generate the power, they feed it into the national grid, and then the national grid will now transmit. And that is the transmission arm. If you pay attention to what I'm saying, generation and then transmission. And then when the transmission is done through all these overhead cables you see, through transmission lines and all these overhead cables you see, then we now have distribution, which is a small one that your transformers in your house now begin to push to your house that you now use. So for successful power generation, for successful power and electricity distribution in Nigeria, we need generation, transmission, and distribution are three aspects that are very, very important. And in the past, this used to be a government agenda. Please, can I confirm that everybody can hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you, sir.
Okay, all right, thank you for that feedback. Before now, power generation or the power and electricity business used to be a strict government thing, right? It's government that is in charge as a private, the public sector. But recently, and in the last 20 years, the private sector has begun to go into the power generation cycle. And these are for obvious reasons. one of the things we've known is that private businesses run businesses better than government agencies in Nigeria. So they become to be a clamor that government is not managing the electricity very well. Let the private sector go into power generation. And this has yielded very, very good results in certain areas. We've had certain case studies where power generation is being done very well. I don't want to go into details, but again, some companies have done very well in distribution. Eco Disco, as we have in Lagos State, or Ikeja Disco. These are examples. Port Harcourt, PHED as well. These are some of the discos that have done well in power generation and transmission. And this is a very good one for Nigeria. And over the last 10, 20 years, when NEPA was scrapped about 10 or 15 years ago, these agencies have done very well and they are currently doing well. So, but be it as it may that they are public industries, private sectors, they are also constantly having private sector engagement, like particularly in Lagos, where private sector is getting involved in power generation. With the new power generation law that was off-grid power generation law that was signed about April 2024 by the new president, Bola Tinubu, we are beginning to see a lot of investors that are coming into the power generation. But there is a caveat. There is a challenge in the industry why you see that you are not getting a lot of investment in Nigerian power sector. And the issue is the issue of cost, per unit cost per kilowatt of energy. So in Nigeria, one of the things that we know is that power is very cheap. This is the reason. This is because government used to subsidize fuel, gases, and energy costs before now, and that is why you see with the deregulation of the energy industry, costs for fuel and energy sources for fossil fuels have gone up. Right, that is the first stage. Also, you will agree with me that also the tariff for band A has also gone from, we used to pay 64 naira now up to almost 300, 240 naira now. So the reason for that, the reason why government has done that increase is so that private sectors and those that are involved in the energy industry can come in and invest and also be a part of this industry. And it will be a cycle where the cost, it will be a viable business where the cost of what the power generation is paying back, because what is happening now is that most of the agencies are not making their money. They don't see it as a business. The return on investment is very poor. And then the likes of Elon Musk, the likes of Microsoft have shown a lot of interest to be involved in Nigerian power generation. But the economics doesn't match for them. The return on investment is very poor, and that's why we're not seeing it. So there's also a recent clamor for the federal government to increase the tariff for band B and band C, and so that it becomes a bit more effective. And these are some of the reasons. Okay, that is generally for power generation, distribution, and transmission, a bit of history around power. Just to go down a bit into power generation, fossil fuel is not the only source. As coal, gas, and oil is not the only source of power. Renewables is a solar, wind, hydro, biomass, nuclear power. These are other sources. And using all these other sources also, there's what we call smart energy distribution, where different sources of energies are combined and stored and then used to transmit energy. And I think that's where we need to go. In my presentation for last week, I did mention that the energy mix in Nigeria is very poor, and we need to start looking for a way of making the energy mix richer. So our dependence on fossil fuel will be a bit limited. While we have a lot of gas and we can do that, but again, it gives us the opportunity to play around other ones, get familiar with other sources of energy and see how we can work them together. So that's for power generation. For power transmission and distribution, electricity is transmitted via power plants to end users. And the roles of the TCN, I talked about the Transmission Commission of Nigeria, their role is to ensure that the DISCOs are power distribution companies of Nigeria. They are efficient in ensuring that power is taken from where it is generated into the national grid. So reliability is one of the challenges that we have. You know, when we hear that national grid has collapsed, what that means is that the backbone infrastructure required to distribute energy around Nigeria has failed, and it can be for so many reasons. There was one particular time we heard that birds were flying in the air and they went to perch somewhere, and that damaged the national grid. I mean, those are very flimsy excuses why our power outage nationally will shut down. So we need better technology, we need better people that have better understanding, and we need more reliable power for our industries. to do very, very well. And before I go away from this issue of distribution and transmission, I want to talk about the place of contracts. In power purchase, they call it PPAs, power control, power purchase agreement. They are very, very important in energy generation and distribution. And what does that mean is that when there are different the discos that generate energy, that releases it to the distribution company. There's usually the contract that they use. Why is that contract very important? Because those contracts help for value for money, return on investment for those that are generated. And anyone involved in business, if you're not getting returns on your investment, there's no need for you to get involved in that business, right? So we have these PPA contracts that are very used to lock in demand and supply for energy. And everybody on this call has the business acumen. You know what demand and supply is, and it's good to lock your customer. We call them captive markets, where you have captured a huge part of the market into your business, and then you are delivering value to them. So take note of it that PPAs are very, very important. Also, legal considerations also in transactions. One of the things recently we've heard about is the use of blockchain technology to lock in business contracts, in dealing, especially when it comes to energy. And these are some of the things, some of the new technologies we need to bring in to deal with the power issue. These power issues are legacy issues. They are very old issues that have been in Nigeria for the past 40, 50 years. And technology can be used to break some of these challenges to ensure that we don't have these power issues again. One of the things I observed as I was coming to where I am now, this Manchester airport now, I boarded a train. And that train I entered is also another energy source, right? Trains in developed world, they are powered by electricity, not by coal, right? So one thing I observed in the trains that I joined is that a lot of technologies are involved in the train. The trains are electric technology. They don't make noise. We don't hear all those rickety sound. We don't hear a lot of that. Where it was very peaceful, very quiet inside. And one thing I observed that on my seat where I was sitting, just in front of my seat, if someone is assigned to a particular seat in the train, there will be a red marker there, that red to tell you that it's not available. Then if the seat is available, let's assume there are 2 seats, there's now a blue marker there showing that seat is vacant. And on the part that has on my seat that has red to show that I've pre-booked that seat, it had my name on it. So what does that mean? Technology is playing a huge part even in the transport and energy industry. And if we don't incorporate technology into it, we will keep having epileptic supply in Nigeria. And that's one of the things. In terms of challenges and opportunities in the power sector, infrastructure investment, gaps, they are there. So we need to invest in infrastructure. And that's why I like the off-grid solution that is being presented. In the rural area where we don't have this electrification, we don't have distribution issues, you can go there and set up a solar farm, right? You can go there and set up a small, for riverine area, set up a windmill, or set up it's called tidal wave coupling, where you put them together and the tidal waves are being harnessed and used for energy. So we must jump into technology. We must invest. We must decentralize the energy sources we are using. Smart grid should be used. Energy storage devices should be used. And these are the things that will drive the technology. And the truth about it is that we are waiting for those of you that are young professionals to come and do this, because the younger people are more savvy when it comes to technology. So there are opportunities for young people to be a part of it. Young people in terms of lawyers, there are laws to draft, there are procedures to write, and all of that. So for engineers also, for new technology, for research and development, for grid management, renewable energy, smart grid, there are so many solutions. So all of you sitting on this call, you are very, very important to the future of Nigerian power generation. So, and you must pay attention to it, so that what we that are mentors, or what we have not been able to achieve, you're able to achieve. And that's why you're on this call, so that we're able to put you on the path to hand you the baton of where we are, what we have done, so that you're able to do more as we go ahead. I want to highlight a few things because I know there are more lawyers on this call. I want to highlight the issue of regulatory compliance, the issue of energy contracts, dispute resolutions. These are very, very key areas that always find themselves in the energy industry generally. In power generation, you see that now that smart meters are being distributed around Nigeria, a lot of people are bypassing, right? A lot of people they need laws for those that bypass and not paying their bills. They will need to be prosecuted, right? And there are gaps in all this area, and that's where the young lawyers, young engineers coming for more innovative solutions that will help us to deal with some of these issues when it comes. So key skills and certifications that are needed to excel. Those of you that are interested in energy law, I encourage you to go into energy law. Those that are engineers also that are involved, please go into all this and get as much insight. And we and our own part as mentors will help to give you as much knowledge as you have. I want to case one real case study of power generation in Nigeria that is also doing very well. One of my mentees has recently talked about off-grid gas supply to estates. And what does that mean? And one of the things that we see in Lagos is that most people in Lagos are ready to pay for power if they have the power supply. Right? And one of the things that is required is gas generators, gas turbines, and then gas to run them. So why it is easy to get gas turbine and gas generators to get the gas required for off-grid use. By off-grid, I mean modular units where gas can be transported to different places and used. Is quite difficult. So that young man is trying to develop a solution where gas bottles or gas cylinders can be used to power gas turbines, and that's a huge one. So in your villages where there is no light, we can actually get gas bottles and then use it to move gas. Use it to power different places. There's one of the projects in Nigeria, so Power Nigeria is one of the new initiatives where gas is being used, and gas utilization now in Nigeria is getting higher and pumped towards the power generation industry. And I think these are some of the things that are good innovations that we can adopt to as we go ahead. I really want to encourage each and every one of us to pay attention to it. While there are a lot of challenges, I believe there are a lot of opportunities for young graduates, for young students, for young lawyers, for young engineers, those that are interested in energy industries to make their mark. What we need to do is to look at the industry. Where are these challenges? Then you face them on hold. Suggest solution. Partner with international bodies. Partner with international agencies that have solved this problem before, and then create a unique solution for the Nigerian energy industry, not only for generation, but for transmission and distribution. I think this is very, very key, and it presents a unique opportunity for young graduates and all of you on this call. Don't wait for somebody to create the solution for you. You have the solution, you know the challenge already. And by doing that already, we're adding value not just to our generation, but to generations on call. The challenges in Nigeria, there are so much. But again, the solutions, as much as we have challenges, there are also solutions. And I believe the solution lies in the hands of the younger generation as you come ahead. All right, that will be all from me from my end there at this point. Thank you all for listening. Thank you, Williams. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, sir, for that very insightful presentation. We are grateful to learn that the power industry is taking a very big turn, and a lot are coming up. So we are all enjoyed to get into these things, learn more about them, go out there, research for more information. Moving on would be the mentees presentation. We would like to call on Group 1 to give their presentation. Group 1, please, are you ready for the presentation? Otherwise, prior to that, we would like to take the pictures.
All right, so while we're waiting, sorry about that. While we're waiting for Group 1 to make their presentation, please can we just quickly take pictures? And the group presenter for Group 1, please, you can also get ready. right, to make your presentation while we take pictures. So please, we would like to kindly ask for those who are on the call. Uh, all right, for those who are on the call, please turn on your videos. Let us have a quick picture, and then we'll move back on with the session. Thank you. All right, thank you, David. Thank you so much, Mr. Felgen, for turning on.
Good morning.
All right. All right, so we're done with that. Yeah. So group one, please get ready. You can start your introduction. I will help you share slides.
All right, good morning, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. My name is Confidence, and I'll be discussing on the topic that says, I'm coming. Just give me like 1 minute. Okay, can everybody hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can hear.
Okay. It says, the power industry and advanced technologies in conventional power generation. So, we all know that they are very, like the power industry is very, very important to the development of every nation. And it cannot be overemphasized, because the development of every nation can actually be determined based on how they are the rate of the energy that they are using. Like now, you can grade a developed nation based on the rate of energy that they use. Like USA now, being a developed nation, they use quite let me say a large number of energy power in their industries to be compared to Nigeria. So power is very, very needed in every society, in every country. So in group one, we, by way of introduction, the power industry is critically is critical to global economic growth. It's very critical because when the power sector is very poor, the economy of that nation will be actually poor, because the industries cannot function. Majority of the sectors cannot function. So such a nation will be underdeveloped. And before now, this sector is being, let me say, is concentrated on the government, meaning that they are the one that take care of everything about power distribution, based on what our first speaker spoke about: power generation, transmission, and distribution. But as development enters, we saw that there is actually need for private players, for other players to enter the industry. Then with this, I can say that if you leave the power sector to concentrate on the government only, it will be so overwhelming. You see, as the industry moves towards a low carbon future, advanced technologies are being developed to enhance the efficiency, reliability, and environmental performance of traditional power plants. You know, one other thing that this power industry is faced is this. Though we all know that power is important, but it has challenges. And these challenges is the carbon that it emits. Let me say that is very detrimental to the greenhouse gas. To the greenhouse. And this actually causes environmental pollution and all that. So there is every need to ensure that the environment is safe, notwithstanding the development in power. So there are technologies that has been developed to ensure the efficiency, the reliability and environmental performance of this sector. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, now.
Okay. One of the technologies that has been developed is smart grid, and the IoT, that is Internet of Things integration, the digitalization and AI in power generation. So one thing that we should know is that AI has come to stay, that is artificial intelligence, and it would be better that we utilize the AI tools, just as the first speaker has told us this morning. There are many potentials in the power industry.
Wow, finally.
There are many potentials in the power industry, but one thing that may be restricting us is the pollution that it causes to the environment. Though when I did oil and gas law, we were told about gas flaring, which is not healthy for the environment. And we have seen the Niger Deltans, majority of them, their land, they cannot even cultivate on the land. And due to oil spillage. So if you are to look at the ugly side of this energy industry, mainly, I'm focusing on the fossil fuel. If we are to look on the negative impacts, we will not gain the benefit in oil. Hence, AI tools should be used. So I'm trying to encourage the youth, the upcoming professionals to ensure that we work stronger in the areas of AI. We utilize the tools. Another one is, okay, let me just run the power generation in Africa. So we are meant to understand that there is what is called energy mix. So that energy mix in Africa now, it's not all the countries, Africa as a continent, it's not all the countries in Africa that depends on fossil fuel. Like now, Nigeria and it says Nigeria, North Africa and others, they use fossil fuel, and Ethiopia here uses hydropower, that is power generated through the water, through water. And we are meant to understand that hydropower, hydroelectricity is one of the oldest and the largest power generating source. And as I was making some research, I saw that the large electricity to be generated for a large electricity this thing to be generated from hydropower, it depends on two major things: the flow of the water and the height that is flowing. And in this hydropower generation, there are things that are needed. Dam is one of it, reservoir is one of it, Solaris gates, penstock, and this penstock is just like a tunnel. It is what channels the water the water to the turbine. And this turbine here is just like a generator. It's what rotates. And this power line here is just like a conduit through which electricity is generated from hydro. So there are 3 types of hydropower generation. The runoff river plants. This one, though it does not need a dam, it does not require large dam or a reservoir. This one, it makes use of the water, the natural water flowing. Let me see, the rivers, like now, when the water is flowing, when the current is high, why this high, can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. You may proceed.
Okay, the pumped storage plants. This one, it makes use of dam and reservoir, but here the water is pumped and reserved when water is when let me say when electricity is not in scarcity. They reserve the water, they pump the water and reserve it. When electricity is in scarcity, that is when it will be used to generate electricity. Why this impoundment? That one, it requires dam and reservoir. So another form of energy is the biomass and bioenergy solution. Here, agricultural, let me say, it's just a form of energy that is generated from animal waste, agricultural waste. However, I actually have a question under this biomass energy or bioenergy solution. I wanted to know if this biomass is actually, I'm sorry that I'm asking this question, though I'm the one presenting. So I'm asking the question to our mentors so that they will answer me. I want to know if this biomass is actually in use in Nigeria. Do we have biomass source of energy in Nigeria? And if there is, are there some companies? Because I would actually try to make some research about it. So I don't know much about that. So under this biomass, there are some benefits. There are some benefits of biomass, and the benefit is renewable energy source. Is renewable. Before I forget, under hydroelectric power generation, there is a lot of benefits because one, the electricity produced is clean. During the course of my research, it's one of the electricity that is one of the sources that the production is clean. It does not pose a lot of danger to the environment because even when we are looking at the monetary value of electricity to the nation and the development it brings, you should know that our environment has a lot to offer. Just imagine we have it all in oil, in this, in that, but our environment is not safe. I don't think that we can actually enjoy the wealth coming from it. So hydroelectric power generation is one of the best. It's not posing a lot of challenges to the environment. Let me run. Another area that I want to talk about is natural gas power plants. It says natural gas power plant generates electricity by burning natural gas as their fuel. All natural gas plants use a gas turbine. Natural gas is added along with a stream of air, which combusts and expands through this turbine, causing a generator to spin a magnet, making electricity. So, and there are some types of natural gas power plants. Can everybody hear me?
You can hear me.
So in here, there are two major types of natural gas power plants. One of it is simple cycle gas plants. This simple cycle, it's efficient and it produces less carbon it emits less carbon to the greenhouse gas. But the second one, combined cycle gas plant, is more efficient. But the first one, it produces lesser electricity, but is faster. Excuse me. Sorry, Hans. So the second one says combined cycle gas. This second one combines it has simple cycle and external engine to produce energy. Why this first one, simple cycle gas plant? It combines turbine engine and one other things that I have forgotten. And the benefits of this natural gas plant is that it lowers emission compared to other fossil gas. So the environmental threats that it poses is lesser than others. Quick startup and is flexible. So it can actually meet the societal demand faster. So another advantage that it has is that it has abundant supply and domestic production. Hence, domestically is a kind of beneficial and it lowers operational and maintenance costs. So here, one thing that I learned in my oil and gas class is that gas flaring, the reason why some IOCs they love gas flaring is that it's cost, let me say, it's not that costly than going for refinery of gas, because the reinjection of crude oil trying to produce natural gas and all that is a kind of too expensive, forgetting the fact that gas flaring is so detrimental to the environment. Hence, our government, they most of the times they don't care about the environmental impact. They goes for the monetary benefits. So I was made to understand that there are some contracts that these IOCs will sign. They will pay, let me say, more money in gas flaring than going for gas reinjection. So modernization, okay, the disadvantages, one of it is environmental impact to greenhouse gas emission, water consumption and pollution. That is one thing about gas flaring. And this thing is happening in Delta State, in Niger Delta. Yes, Niger Delta. When I was watching one documentary some weeks back, I saw that most of them, their water is unhealthy. They cannot drink this water. I have a friend that came from one state like that they are oil producing. She told me that anytime that they are traveling to the village, they will have to buy water from Benin here to their state. So the water pollution is actually so alarming. Air pollution is another thing, and methane leaks. So though the natural gas plant is good, but the environmental threat that it poses is actually very risky. So modernization of existing power infrastructure. Power infrastructure modernization is a process of upgrading and improving the existing power grid. So if we are to go into the power industry now, though they are trying, but there ought to be some areas of improvement, just like these key components of power infrastructure modernization. This installation of smart meter. So with this, you'll be able to know like the rate of power that you are using. It will be measured. Even with the consumers of the electricity, we will know what we paid. Like now, let me say, when they give you light, when NEPA give you light now, you don't know. You have paid, you don't know when it's going to finish. But with this smart installation of meter, the installation of smart meter, you will know so that you'll not be working blindly. So another one is the deployment of advanced sensor and automation systems. Another one is integration of advanced technologies. So let me check out something. This second one, it says these technologies allow utilities to be monitored the health of the power grid in real time and quickly identify and respond to it and respond to any issues that arise. Like now, there are most times that some things we got bad in our transformers. Most of the time they don't know, but with this, the power industry will be aware. The integration of advanced technologies like it says advanced technologies such as smart grids, energy storage system, and advanced metering infrastructure can help to improve the efficiency and the reliability and sustainability of the power grid. Energy storage system. There should be a way in which energy can be stored. Hence, industry in Africa. We are meant to know that more than 600 persons in Africa does not have electricity, and they were talking about infrastructure. That's the reason, poor development and all that. Let me just go there. Okay, like now, according to African Development Bank, it says that more than 640 million Africans do not have access to energy, resulting in an electricity, resulting in the wait, resulting in an electricity access access rate of just over 40%. So, and they were like that the key challenges is infrastructure deficit due to inadequate transmission and distribution of network. So all these things, there are still several challenges. Though Africa, we have a lot of energy mix. Like Nigeria now should be one of the top 10 producers of oil and in Africa, but we are still facing a lot of challenges in this sector. So there is need to adopt some technological equipment and to advance both in learning and acquire several skills. Like now, you may see AI tools, can I use it? But there's every opportunity to get the knowledge. So I'll be stopping here. Can anybody hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you very much, Ms. Confidence. We've learned a lot from this section. We've seen that there's a better future for Nigeria and the energy power generation. We've seen that the current source of energy generation that is predominant is really damaging to the whole country and the global world at large. So we think that there are other mediums to generate power, like we have the hydro, the solar, these renewable energy sources that are way accessible to regardless of location and are way more beneficial compared to the current energy generation source. So with that, we'll be going on to the next group. We would like to call
All
on
right,
group
thank you.
for their presentation. Thank you. Group 2, please. The presenter, are you ready?
Please, do we have the presenter for Group 2 in class? Please, you can go ahead and start your presentation. And if the presenter is not yet ready, thank you so much. We have Mr. Uboho who has joined in for the session. Thank you so much, sir, for joining. We're happy to have you in class. Maybe after the presentation, we'll just be hearing you give your brief discourse into today. We'll take feedbacks from both you and from Mr. Okeogene, and then we'll take questions. So please, group presenter for Group 2, please, can you kindly start your presentation so that we can move on with the session? Do we have members of Group 2 in class? Please, we'd like to take your presentation and move on. Okay, so not to waste any time waiting for Group 2, if eventually they are ready to make their presentation, we may be taking that later on. But we would like to kindly hear from Mr. Oboho in the next, let's say, 15 minutes thereabouts to just get your discourse and feedback based off of the presentation made by Group 1. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. It's already good. Once again, I apologize for this. I had a test I was writing. I wrote earlier. I thought it should have ended by 11 o'clock on the dot, but we had technical issues, so we got extended. So my apologies once again. Yeah, glad to be here. It's always a nice time in having these conversations around the energy industry. And Nice to see Mr. Kalgini again and some other mentors. Yeah, so the power industry in Nigeria, I won't have mm, time to look at it more detail like we did last year, maybe to project. But I believe there would have already been presentations covering the historicals, how we got to where we are now. I believe we must have had conversations around the capacity, the infrastructure. Maybe I might just want to highlight briefly on, I don't know that if someone spoke on the regulatory framework. How many minutes do I have, please? One or two, three?
So you can have 15 minutes, sir. And then you
Okay.
can just also we can just also take those introductions and regulatory frameworks from you, sir. We really appreciate.
Oh, okay. I've just sent my slides by email. If someone can help me project, I sent to the JIPCC Academy email. And so I can't project using this system at the moment.
Okay, I'll be doing that shortly, sir. Just a few
But let me
minutes.
see. Okay, let me see if I can. Sorry, but you received it, yeah? Just want to confirm.
I'm still trying to load my mail, so I would be looking at that.
Okay,
I think I'll be receiving it shortly.
Your mentees.
okay.
Oh yeah.
I want to see if I will send it to my office man. Let me see. I can probably show you. Let's see. So, okay. Well, while we are waiting for that, I think I can just start looking at it, reading the introductory part. So,
We've not received the emails, the presentations. Sorry, sir, I can't find it on our mail.
okay, I think it's a network issue because mine too has not dropped, but well, okay, I think I can present it from my end here. So let me just start with this. Sorry everyone, just a couple of one minute or so. Just give it back. Right, okay. So please, do I have sharing rights?
Sorry, sir, we didn't get you, sir.
Do I have sharing rights? I want to see if I can share from here.
Yes,
Okay.
sir, you can share.
Okay. Kindly confirm that you can see my screen.
You can see your screen, sir.
Okay. Slide share, slide share, slide share. Okay, so conversation today on the energy in the power industry. So basically we'll look at the history, historical, regulatory framework, licensing regime, contractual regime, and the challenges in the sector. So the historical, in just a flow chart here of the journey so far, we have it that electricity generation in Nigeria, I mean, documented by records as at 1896, where the first electricity utility company, and 1896, if I can remember very well, there was a use of, I think it was in kilowatts, by a particular company. I'm trying to remember the company that sponsored this. Sorry, I'm a bit rusty now on this granular detail. Then the first utility company, the Nigerian Electricity Supply Company, was established in 1929. Thereafter, we had the Electricity Corporation of Nigeria, ECN, established in 1951, and the Niger Dam Authority, NDA, in 1962. Then another point in time, we had both the ECN and the NDA merged together under Decree 24 of 1972 to form what most of us would have come to know as NEPA, Nigerian Electric Power Authority. So what happened with NEPA then? It was a state-owned monopoly, vertically integrated, involved in both generation, transmission, distribution of power, as we all know. I mean, this module did not work for us. This model did not work because as at then we had consistent epileptic power supply, and it even happened that NEPA now turned into something else. Never expects power always, and then the PLC, they will say please like candle. There was this cliche that used to reign then. But so in 2001, under the presidency of former President Obasanjo, there were reforms. A fundamental reform here, obviously, NEPA changed to Power Holding Company of Nigeria. Power Holding Company of Nigeria was more of a transitory body that was holding more or less in receivership the assets of NEPA, pending full privatization. So in pursuit of the reforms, the government set up the National Electric Power Policy, NEPP, in 2001, which objective was to see to the privatization of the sector. Then in 2005, the policy now gave way to what we later knew as the Electric Power Sector Reform, EPSR Act, which, was the primary regulatory framework up until 2023. So under the EPSR Act of 2005, it established the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission and led to the formation of the Power Holding Company of Nigeria as a transitional entity with 18 successor companies. So as a transitional entity, like I say, with 18 successor companies, then recently in 2023, the Electricity Act was enacted to replace the ESPR Act. Mind you, the enactment of the Electricity Act followed the amendment of the Constitution, the exclusive legislative list, which, as we are aware, before the amendment, exclusive legislative list, power generation, power distribution and transition, there was a way it was coined in the sense that only the state government was only to be involved in anything in the power market when it had to do with areas that were not covered by the national grid. However, under the amendments, by the nature of the amendments, that limit, that proviso was taken up to mean that state governments can now be involved. They can create their own electricity markets, directly involved in generation and regulation of generation, transition and distribution within the states, individual states. So this is the most important, I would say, fundamental innovation brought about by the Electricity Act, in addition to other innovations. Having said that, history of the power sector, the current numbers, I mean, these numbers, just plus or minus here and there, installed capacity of about 14,000 megawatts. Then the actual daily supply averages about 4,000. You might be reading in the news Some days, some months, you might be having, I think some months ago, is it a month ago, I read that we had the highest, the peak supply, I think about 5,900 or 5,800 megawatts on a particular day. I think for that month, it averaged about 5,000 something. But at the end of the day, plus or minus over the years, average around 4,000 megawatts. So you see, we are a far cry from our energy need. Um, so you look at the energy, the supply mix, bioenergy 0.1%, solar 0.2%, coal about 1.8%, hydro 27.3 percent. Now the master of them or the god of them or gas thermal, that's about 70.5%. So to a large extent, our generation of supply um, depends solely into a large extent on gas. We now go to the regulatory framework. We just had conversation about how we move from the EPSRA and now to the Electricity Act. We talked about the NEPP policy document. So the Nigerian electricity supply industry is primarily governed by the Electricity Act of 2023. The Electricity Act was enacted on June 8th, just a few days into the commencement of this current administration, repealing the Electric Power Sector Reform Act. So now it still reestablishes, of course, maintains the formation of the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission. This is the primary regulatory commission when it comes to, with regards to the power sector in Nigeria. So notable reforms, I talked about decentralization, which I earlier mentioned. Other aspects, so introduction of the competitive electricity market, incorporation and licensing of an independent system operator, ISO, to coordinate market and system operation functions. In our firm, I think we wrote a research, not a research, an article we made some comments about the implementation of this particular provision, the establishment of the ISO, whether or not um, it has really lived up to its expectations so far from the time it was expected to be set up. But so anyway, so the Act provides for the establishment of an independent system operator. What we have right now, before the incorporation of the NISO, what we had a system operator that was merged with um, the market operator. What's the name of the entity? It carried out both market operations, system operations, and one other function. So now it is now been broken to say that entity, what's the name again? Um, I'm trying to recall the name. So this system operator carries out strictly operation functions. System operation functions just in the sense of it does not own the facilities. What it does is just to ensure the management of the whole system and transmission system. While the other entity now handles ownership of the assets and as well takes care of market operations in terms of bidding and stuff like that. So the bifurcation, oh sorry, the system operator of course ensures balancing. So in technical terms, all things that regards meeting the demand from the supply side of things, you have to balance, let's say daily balancing. If a particular zone needs, let's say 100 megawatts, a particular disco, it now takes that quote to a GenCo to say, look, this guy needs 100 megawatts. How much have you got to offer? You've got 50, but we have to ensure that there's a balancing in the system so that there's no system collapse. You know, you have all been hearing about national grid failure. When there's no balance in the whole system, it leads to collapse, and that's why the independent system operator function is very important, and we hope they are able to keep up with the expectations. So decentralization of regulation in the state to the states and creation of state electricity markets. As at the last count, I think plus or minus not less than 10 states that have enacted their state electricity laws, like Lagos, Ekiti, Enugu, I think Ondo, Kogi, some states like that. This means that, so to some extent, they are yet really to fully implement or to kickstart the various state electricity markets. Some of them are still at the transitional phase. I can't really pinpoint a particular state that has gone full blown, but we are expecting in some months this thing should um, happen. So, because if you go by the provisions of the act and how it should have been done, when the state notifies NERC, NERC will now um, hands off, and then they'll be setting up of the subco under the disco that govern that cover that particular state. But let's not go into too many of this detail. It encourages the generation of electricity from renewable energy, not just generation. The Electricity Act encourages the incorporation of renewable energy into both all the strata of the supply chain, generation, transition, distribution, and all. Introduction of the National Integrated Electricity Policy and Strategic Implementation Plan. And the last time I checked, I think even my boss, the partner of the firm here, was part of this team. I think they submitted a draft, but I think I can't remember whether this has been finalized. But the Electricity Act actually provided for 12 months from the enactment. So if you have to count that 12 months, and I think June, was it June 2023? 12 months would have last 2024, around August or July or so. But the draft is out though. Still boils down to implementation. Oh, sorry. Establishment of the National Hydroelectric Power Producing Areas Development Commission. So this commission is sort of producing GENCOs are they are obligated to contribute a percentage of their income um, to this commission, which will now be used for the development of these territories or states that host our hydroelectric power plants, like Kanji in Niger State. You know, just like you have in the oil and gas industry. Same thing, just for the development of the communities hosting these facilities. But just a few of the innovations introduced by under the Electricity Act. That said, the licensing regime, we have the generation, we have transmission, we have distribution license. This is under the Electricity Act. You have supply license, trading license, system operation license. All of these are issued by NEC. Generation license, as straight up as that is, for generation of power. Obviously, if you have to generate power below, if you have to generate power below 1 megawatt, you really don't need a license. You are generating, that's what we call captive generation. If you are generating it for your self-use, but if you are generating beyond 1 megawatt and you want to supply and you want to third parties, then you need a license, and you also have to obtain depending if it's embedded, embedded generation, so you are able to distribute, you know, using the proper channel. Transmission license, you know, this is, I don't want to use distribution, but let me say transportation of power on high voltage. The technical guys have a voltage for this. Is it 33 kVA or 120 something? I mean, these are technical detail, but it has to do with transportation of electricity on high voltage. Distribution. So when it gets to a particular point, it is now stepped down to a lower voltage, and it's now distributed at lower voltage, where it is now plugged into the various transformers that we have on street corners around us. You must have seen those transformers where we now connect our lights, you know, as consumers. Then you have supply license, trading license, system operation license, license. So the system operations, you not the one that owns the facilities, more or less, but system operation functions here has to do with, like I said, balancing issues about ensuring that there is stability within the system. Um, we have the national, is it Nigerian or National Nigerian Independent System Operation Limited now? Is it PLC? I think limited. Trading license as a trader, you 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 are more like a commercial, like, like as the term is, you buy from the supplier, and then you resell it to the retailers or distributors, more or less. Supply license. This would be the same thing as you would say a shipper's license in the oil and gas sector. So as a supplier, you are able to buy in bulk from the generator, and then the trader can take it off there for you to now trade and sell it to the for resale to discos or final consumers. That being said, contractual regime, power purchase agreement. So one fundamental contract that you would not do without in the power industry, power purchase agreement, PPA as we call. Um, so this is a contract between, let's say, a generation, a, um, a supplier or a genco, generation company, and a distributor to say, I'm generating 100 megawatts. It's more of a long-term bilateral contract. You disco, you say you are okay with of taking my 100 megawatts. I'm going to be supplying you 100 megawatts. You are going to commit to some take or pay quantity to say that every day, yes, we contracted 100 megawatts, but you are compelled to ensure that whether you are like it or leave it, at least 90% of that quantity, depending, it's a contractual negotiation thing, 90% of that quantity, you must take it or you pay for it. If you don't take it, you must pay for that 90%. So there are provisions like that in the contract. Liquidated damages provision, maintenance, you might want to consider all those things, conversation. So generally, the power purchase agreement is that contract that defines the relationship between the GenCo and the DISCO with regards to supply of power generated by the GenCo to the DISCO. Gas purchase agreement. So if it's a thermal generator, you want to use gas, you are going to use gas as the source fuel to run the GenCo, the generator. So you are going to, the GenCo will now enter back another agreement with the gas supplier upstream or downstream to say, look, you will be supplying the gas to run my generator. So you see how the system works. Everything here revolves. So when there is default in one contract, it has a way of spiraling into other segments of the sector. So let's say at the distribution level, one is not paying his or her bill. Remember that the disco will take the money from the consumer, when the consumer pays the 1,000 or 10,000 as his or her bill, the disco will now remit it to the GenCo for the power supplied by the GenCo. The GenCo would now have to remit a part of that to the gas supplier who sold gas to the GenCo. So if there's failure by the inadequate bill payment at the retail level, consumers level, it now has a trickle effect on even to the gas supplier. And this is what you are facing in Nigeria. You hear stories about, sorry, you want to say something? Hello? Hello?
You can carry on,
Okay.
sir. Sorry,
So you have okay, so let me just try and rush around. Oh, I don't know what time I have now. So you have transmission use of system agreement, the distribution use of system agreement. So if you are there is so you have an arrangement where, for instance, you have you are running an industrial yard, and what's the name for those customers? You are running an industrial yard, you have some customers like that, that they don't tap take power from the discos. They get power directly from the GENCOs because their consumption level is quite high. So they can get source power directly from the GENCO without passing through the disco. So in that case, they will want to enter into a distribution use of system agreement with the disco because they are not buying from the disco, they are sourcing from the GENCO. But since they're going to use the facility of the disco to connect power down to via facility, then they would enter into that distribution use of system agreement to say, look, we want to use your distribution line to bring power directly from the generator to our facility. I know you are going to charge me some money. Let us enter into this agreement. I'll be paying you some tariff or some money to use your facility. Though I'm not buying from you. I mean, maybe say much on this, plus or minus one or the other, whether we have a solar system, you would have experienced one or two of these challenges. We would have you would have heard of or in our own way experienced the effect of these challenges. So inadequate power generation capacity. Yes, we have installed capacity, circa 14,000. But at the same time, if the numbers that are being seen, you see numbers around, I mean, these numbers are subjective. Some numbers are different from some. I've seen numbers around, we need at least 30,000 megawatts daily supply. I've seen numbers around 44,000. So these numbers are quite relative. That's the word. But plus or minus, we still see that it's a far cry from even our installed capacity of about 14,000. To make matters even worse, what we get to have at the end of the day, circa around 4,000, 5,000. So it means there's a large energy gap or energy deficiency in Nigeria. And what is the cause of this? We just talked about liquidity issues, which boils down including inadequate bill payment. Um, yeah, even things about the forex, the economic downturn of the forex on contracts of this nature, because as a Genco or gas or a Genco who is let's say contracting with a gas supplier in dollars, and your bill is being paid in naira, and the disco is remitting to the Genco in naira. 1 naira that I'm paying today, compared to if what 1 naira was against the dollar a minute ago might be a different thing today. So these things, upturn a lot of dynamics in the market. Transmission and distribution bottlenecks. We do not have the facilities. To a large extent, we've been experiencing grid failures. Last year, we had numerous events like that. This year, not really been bad, but I think we've had about 4 or 5 incidences. I mean, I may be wrong. Maybe 2 or 3. I don't think it was all. So inadequate facilities, both at the distribution end and the transmission end. So optimal pricing subsidies, uh, question is, and this is debatable to a large extent. The only aspect of the different, what is it that, what do you call it? It's cost reflective to a large extent from what we get 24 hours. Even with that, some people still under band aid don't have up to that. The rest still under subsidies. And these subsidies, at the end of the day, you want to ask yourself, are they really enough to cover for the cost that these market participants are incurring every day to make sure that the power gets to consumer, you know, because there are legacy debts that are yet to even be federal government comes intervening here and there, set up some funds. The question will now be, we pricing regime? The answer is yes. It's a matter of when and how to make everything cost banding and provide power to everyone. Truth be told, the cost of it in banks, B2E are paying right now. But economically, is it realistic? Is it realizable with the present economic situation? That is $1 million question that is only left for economists to answer. But there is a problem. Fixed gas
Hello, sir. You're breaking. We can't hear you clearly.
issues.
Mr. Obo, can you hear us? We
It
can't.
still boils down to liquidity or money from the disco. Where would you get? That's the question. You have different issues. I can only do so much when you have already owned me, as is the case. My mentor. Sorry about that. Operational. Let me try again. Can you hear me? Oh, shoot.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Can you hear me? Sorry about that.
Yeah, you.
So, okay. Okay. So, just a few more and we are done. In operational inefficiencies of distribution companies, I think I heard someone talking about smart grids. So not just distribution companies, even the transition entity, still using manual equipment, you know, things about persons are still using walkie-talkie I mean, if they need to communicate
Hello, sir. Sorry, your network is breaking back. Hello, sir. Can you hear us, sir? Okay. Since Mr. Oboho's network is not cooperating with him, I'm so sorry to our mentees about that. All right. So what I think we'll do right now is that we'll take feedback from Mr. Okeokene. I'm sorry, sir, that we took quite a while to get back to you for your feedback. Please, I would like to just hear from you in the next, let's say in the next 5 minutes, give feedback to the presentation and maybe any other take you still have on the topic, and then we'll take questions.
Okay, Williamson, thank you very much. And yes, thank you, mentees, for your presentation. I'm quite disappointed that the second team had not presented. You want to, have you reached out to them and nobody's still available to make their presentation up until now?
Yes, I've reached out and nobody has responded.
And we don't have anybody from the mentees team. We don't have anybody on this call that can give it a stab. I think people are missing the point here. Because we have a key presenter, it doesn't mean any other person cannot try. Nobody is a superstar. In fact, me, I'm not a power expert, right? if you have followed up the presentation given by Mr. Oboho and what I gave, you will see I did not go in depth into it because I'm not a power expert. I'm in the oil and gas and production space, right? But it doesn't mean that I don't know what's happening here. It doesn't mean I don't have an idea. Certain very key skills are being generated when we spend our time on this call. And don't forget that Gypsy is doing us a lot of favor to bring these mentees and everyone in one room so we can learn. So take advantage of the opportunity that you guys have. Improve your presentation skills. Increase the opportunity for you to, speak out and air your opinion. Go back and listen to the record and see how you sounded. And these are we're all lifelong learners, so we learn as we go ahead. So I really want to encourage the mentees. You must not give 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 5 minutes presentation. Just air your view. The next time you do it better. So I really encourage anyone on the call from team one. I think team one is the one. Take a stab at it. You have the presentations. Do you have the presentations, William, for team one?
Okay, team one were the ones that made presentation. They did not submit to make presentation. Team two made submissions but did not present.
Okay. Anybody on the call from team two that wants to give it a go? Anybody that wants to try it, even if it's 5 minutes, just go through it again. Because if we're going to score now, we're scoring team 2-0, and that will not be good. So is there anybody on the call that want to try before we can give our feedback? Anybody from team two? All right, so let's not take much time. And team one, well done for the presentation. In fact, I want to give kudos to the primary presenter for team one. I believe she was not the original presenter that was supposed to present, and she only stepped in to make that presentation. So I want to commend her. I wasn't sure if the original presenter came in again towards the end. I know the voice changed again. William, correct me. Did the original presenter step in and conclude the presentation?
No, sir, it was the same person.
Okay, excellent. So I want to really give her kudos for that. Well done for the presentation. I think she's a law student from what she has said because she did energy law in her final year, she mentioned. So she's not a newbie to the energy sector. That is somebody that is going ahead to, practice what you have been taught. And that's one of the things that is missing in solutions that we have today. People learn and learn so much, they are not able to put it to practice, right? One of the things they said, most times we see, they say there's thinker and there's a doer. The doer is the person that puts to practice what the person thinks, and that makes the difference. One of the motivational quotes I normally look at is that it says that how do you even put that? The learning of anything is in the doing. It's actually implementing that thing, right? And that we don't need 1 million self-motivation books to read. We just need to take an action. So taking an action towards where you want to be is very, very important. And that's why I commend all of you for being here. So in terms of the presentation, I think her presentation was okay for someone that just jumped in. Why I think some of the languages that she used were not appropriate, but I think the attempt was a very good one. She touched on very key part of the industry. She talked about smart contracts. She talked about smart grid. She talked about different sources of energy, and also she talked about transmission, generation. And she talked about Genco. So she touched on a very important part of it. I think that is good. I did not see a presentation for it. I don't know if you used the presentation, Williams. I didn't see a presentation for this. And like you mentioned, group two made the presentation, but they did not present. But team one did not make it, but they presented. So, and of a truth, you see that team one will actually do better because they made a presentation. And one of the things that's very, very important, the presentation is also a key part. I don't want to downplay that. So if you had done a presentation, you have a more organized flow in what you were talking about the energy industry. But I want to commend the team for good efforts. And generally, I want to encourage the mentees. These were the same mentees we spoke about last week. Next week will be the third week. So you are no more new to the Gypsy program. You've done the first week, you've done the second week. So you understand how the program runs. And it's our expectation that you will do far more better in the next week. So we have high hopes, we have high expectations. Do not disappoint us. I must reiterate it. It is not about coming here every Saturday and just sitting to watch. Participate in the group work, participate in the documentation, participate in the presentation. So there is a worthy learning curve for this program. It don't be an event that just come and go, but you've picked up something, key skills. We call them critical skills for young graduates to grow, right? You have those skills and it will help you to grow as you go ahead, okay? So those are my feedback to the team. Well done.
All right, thank you so much, sir. We really do appreciate the feedback from you. We want to encourage our mentees that please, in the instance where maybe the main presenter is not around, let's be flexible enough to have someone step in on behalf of the group. What counts is the fact that it was a team that puts the work together and that we have people who are able to, it shows that you guys worked as a team to put the work together. So you have an idea on what the group has done. So with that being said, Mr. Uboho I think you are back with us. Please, sir, we can just maybe take your final thoughts on the topic you were on, the discussion you were having. I think you were about rounding up before your network started going bad. So please, I would just like to take final thoughts and then we'll have questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Sorry again for the network issue. And I think I almost landed and really no need to project again. But yeah, I don't know whether you heard up to feedstock gas supply issues, operational inefficiencies of the discourse, and including even the transition entities and regulatory uncertainties and policy inconsistencies that we have normally. This is what we experience a lot in Nigeria. Today, the government says this, tomorrow another thing comes up, especially, for instance, metering. Different policies have come up in recent time as to how this code should ensure that smart meters or the consumers are all given their meters. I think we've had two or three different schemes. So far, so good. None of these schemes has, delivered the needed um, targets. But in all, we have seen that, truth be told, the Nigerian power sector has grown. Starting from the 19th century, when we were talking about a few kilowatts of power, and now we've gotten to the point where we are averaging 4,000 to 5,000. Are they prospect a lot? Are we getting there? Hopefully. Can we ascertain how fast we'll get there? I can't answer. But really, are there hopes? Surely. How do we get there? It's a contribution of everyone, including the leaders and even you, that aspiring energy lawyers, perhaps in helping to shape the policies and ensuring implementation. And I think it starts from now. And even it starts from your participation here in this mentorship program. And thank you for listening. And thanks again. Questions, please.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Ball, for helping us run through the discourse, giving us history, giving us an overview of the power industry, also highlighting things around contracts and licensing arrangements and also regulations within the power industry. We really, really do appreciate your presentation. So please, we would like to take questions from the mentees. We would like to take questions from the mentees. Okay, so I think group 2 wants to still present. Maybe we can just quickly take your presentation for group 2. We can quickly take your presentation and then we'll take questions. So please, the person who is standing in to fill in for group 2, please, you can go ahead, make presentations and then we'll take questions. Hello, is the person who is volunteering to present, is the person with us? Okay, okay. Let's not waste any time
Yes,
waiting for that.
I'm here.
Okay,
Can you hear me?
yeah, I
I'm
can
trying
hear
to
you.
share my.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. Please, try as much as possible to be as quick as possible with the presentation. I think 7 minutes so that we can get to questions.
All right. I can't really share my screen right now, so I'll just briefly go through the document. Group 2's topic is on challenges and innovation in the power industry. So to sum it all up, the power industry is facing many challenges, and in the midst of these challenges, there are still innovations that have been put in place. For example, the integration of renewable energy sources like solar and wind power, and there are also advanced technology like smart grids, energy storage, grid-scale batteries that enhance efficiency, reliability, and resilience. There are other innovations as well. So going into grid modernization and smart technologies, these have revolutionized the power industry. They enable sustainable operation of the grid, and okay, they are integrated through smart meters, sensors, and IoT devices. Okay, the adoption of smart grid technology has it integrates renewable energy sources, electricity vehicles, and energy storage systems into the grid. There are also advanced analytics, artificial intelligence, and machine learning algorithms that are applied. Going to energy storage systems um, address a problem in transitioning into
Hey,
renewable
sorry,
energy sources.
privacy slide.
What?
Your screen is on best practices for data collection, processing, and transfer in Nigeria.
No, that's not my screen. I wasn't
Oh,
able
okay.
to share my screen.
Slides. Sorry, I would let me look to adjust that. So sorry about that. Please, you can go
Should I
ahead.
go on? Okay. Energy storage systems, they use solar and wind power um, to, okay, they create a mismatch between energy supply and demand, which leads to grid instability and inefficiency. So these storage systems, examples of them are batteries, pumped hydro storage, and other technologies that absorb excess energy generated during periods of low demand, and they release this power when they are needed. And they are also very important for ensuring stable and reliable energy supply. Going to cybersecurity in the power infrastructure, it is very important in cases of increased threats from hackers, ransomware, and data breaches. Then policy and regulatory frameworks. So policies are important for addressing concerns in reliable power and renewable energy adoption. Then there are elements of regulatory frameworks such as, okay, for example, independent regulatory bodies like the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission. They oversee the power sector and ensure compliance with laws, and they set tariffs and promote competition. Then licensing and permits. These frameworks define the processes for granting licenses to power producers, distributors, and other stakeholders. There is also tariff regulations, quality standards that ensure the electricity supply meets specific reliability and safety standards. Then the problem of environmental compliance. There are frameworks that mandate the adherence to these laws. Then going into a case study like the Nigerian power industry challenges and solutions. So in Nigeria, the challenges include inadequate power generation, capacity, transmission and distribution issues, gas supply constraints, and energy poverty, which um, a lot of Nigerians face. They are not able to access electricity and they rely on diesel generators and all that. So the solutions to that, Nigerians, okay, Nigeria has a renewable energy master plan which aims to generate 30% of the country's electricity from renewable sources, and privatizing the power sector would allow private companies to invest and expand and make more innovations in the power sector. Also promoting the grid scale, energy storage, smart grid technologies and demand side management, and effective policy and regulatory frameworks do would would do very good in solving a lot of challenges in Nigeria's power industry. So that's the end of the presentation. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Vanessa, for stepping in to make presentation on behalf of your group. So I don't know if our mentors were able to hear your presentation. I will just quickly hand over to Mr. Okeogene back to Mr. Okeogene for, let's say, quick feedback from him, and then to Mr. Uboho for his feedback. Mr. Okeogene, over to you, sir.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you, Group 2 presenter. I think I'm quite impressed again for the fact that you did not allow the opportunity to slip by. Where growth comes from the place of discomfort, right? Things that you think might stretch you a bit. That's where it comes from. I know initially Group 2 did not want to present, but somebody has come. So kudos to the group for the presentation. I like the fact that you guys went the extra mile to have a presentation to give, unlike Team 1. So that's also another kudos to you for getting this done. But everything, like they said, the reward for good work is more. Whatever you have presented can be improved. There is the energy sector generally cuts across a large extent, and the depth that is required for the presentation was not really there, right? You talked about smart contract, you talked about litigation and a few things you've mentioned. I think that was quite important, but I think we should not get things done for doing sake, right? Let's put the energy, let's give it the work, let's deliver our best work so that our work can speak for us. I think that's very, very important. But again, I want to encourage the group. Like I mentioned before, this is our second class, right? It's just preliminaries. We've just learned how things will be done. We have the next session again that gives us the opportunity to improve upon what we have done. Let's pay attention to the details. Let's put our best foot forward. And I think that would, at the end of this 5 to 6 weeks, we can beat our chest and say we've actually improved. We have more information, and then we've improved our skills in terms of personal development. I think that's what this whole thing about, personal development for each and every one of us. So kudos to the group, and I'll hang it there. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, sir, for your feedback. Please, Mr. Oboho, do you have any feedback for our Group 2 presenter?
Yeah, thank you. I want to say I adopt the same position as my colleague, Mr. Dodini. Just well done to the team, to be honest. The presenter for stepping in, even at the point it felt it was not going to be done. I think for me, it always starts from, I appreciate it when people try, at the end of the day. I commend that. Well done. I also believe that I had I have this impression, I don't know, when presenting, it appeared more like it was the work was put together to just to ensure that the work is done. I feel there would have been some more in-depth analysis or inclusion of certain provisions. I wish I have the slide now. Maybe I would have pointed out one or two, but I mean, generally, um, well done for the efforts. I mean, at this stage, for taking the bull by the horn. Really nice. I liked your conversation around smart metering, innovations in terms of equipment to use. I also agree with the challenges that you lifted. And yeah, well done to the team. I believe when given another opportunity, you will do better. Well done.
All right, thank you very much, sir. So now over to mentees. Do we have mentees with questions that they would like to ask? Please, do we have anyone on the group who has a question they would like to ask?
Yes, I do have a
Okay.
question.
All right, please go ahead, Mr. Adam.
Okay, so thank you to all the mentors that's made out time to be here. Well done to all the mentees, my group members and group two for also making out the time to put together a presentation and also furnish us with the same. My question is an open question, not to either of the mentors, but to either not to one particular mentor, but to either. Obviously, Nigeria is a developing nation, quote unquote, for how many years I don't know now, but it's still tagged as a developing nation. My question is geared towards, okay, what are some of the practices that other developed nations have put in practice, so that what are some of the things that they have put in practice in order to harness and improve their power industry from what it was as a developing nation at the time to what it is now? And what are some of these practices that you think Nigeria can adopt in order to become better? That's my only question.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Adams, for your question. So he gave it, or he asked the question as an open question. So I think what we'll be doing is that we'll be asking both mentors for their feedback on the question. So I think we'll start with Mr. Okeogene. Mr. Okeogene, do you have any feedback as related to the question that was asked by Mr. Adams?
Okay, Adams, thank you for your question you asked. A very important one, questions we have asked over and over in the past. And for me, the answer is very simple. It's our culture when it comes to maintenance, right? Public sector managed enterprises find it difficult to be efficient, manage resources well, build sustainability into what is being done, and ensure that things follow due process or standard international processes. And I think that's the problem. Okay, so there are power generation companies that are privately owned and they're doing very well. Okay. Recently, we were approached by one company to say, "Okay, come and run our power plant." Well, they have about 8 power plants that they are running, and they were looking into that. But again, I'll give a typical example. Winners Chapel has been running power consistently for the last 13, 14 years, right? They've not had power outage from what I hear, or even if they've had power outage, it is very minimal, right? What does that tell you? Is that even in the same country, when we find ourselves and we're saying certain things are not working, there are specific areas where people have been able to properly adopt the processes, international standards that should be used, and the things are working for them. So the simple thing to do is to go and borrow the knowledge or go and find out what they are doing and repeat it. This, these are private sector driven initiatives or private sector driven power development, generation, transmission, and distribution. There are some estates in Nigeria, like you go to some of Shell facilities, they've not shut down for 20 years, 10 years, right? So there are certain practices that needs to come into play that help people to develop and beyond it, maintenance. maintenance is very important, right? Maintaining when due. And most of the maintenance that I run these days, they have what they call the CMMS, that's computerized management system that are used for maintenance of equipment and spares management. When you are running an equipment, you need to have spares to run them. So there are so many things that need to be done, different layer upon layer that you see that are being implemented overseas. And then we need to localize our technology. Any technology we go out to go and bring it, we need to localize it. And why do I say that? I give you a typical example. Most of the laptops that we have that we use, the laptops has fan, and those fans they generate heat. But using those same laptops abroad where they have very, very cold weather, it doesn't impact on the laptop because the weather is cold. It cools the fan, it cools the processor, it cools the computer unit as a whole. So they don't have issue with overheating. But that same laptop, if you bring that laptop to Lagos or to Port Harcourt to run that, you find out the laptop will overheat. Why? The environment is different. So some of the technologies that are being used in other clients, and when they bring it to Africa, we need to localize those technology and make them so that they are useful or they suit our environment, and then they're able to deliver 100% value upon what we are doing. That would be my feedback. Let me not overflow. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Okeogene. Mr. Obo, do you have any take on this question?
Okay, thank you. Important question. I think the saying says that you can't do the same thing and expect different results. And Mr. Okeogene has already pointed to very important aspects, maintenance. Another aspect that, yeah, cost reflective charges. We need to make the system really commercially enticing. Or yeah, if government wants to subsidize, then the subsidy should cover the cost. But honestly, how much can you keep on subsidizing? The system has to be cost reflective if we expect improvements. I mean, this is harsh to say, but that's just a reality. In countries, because we are talking about how it's working in other countries. In UK, for instance, when your bill comes, you even internet, you know that it's not something that I would say that Nigeria is one of the countries that, in terms of utilities, we pay the lowest. I mean, I shouldn't be saying this, but that's just the reality. So let's say in the UK, where you pay cost reflective tariff, definitely it's one of your utilities will have to count as one of your most important cost factors when you are making drawing up your budget. So yes, we have to make it cost reflective. We have to see a way the whole decentralization that we have introduced, we expect that it will help to improve the system, not a system where before now everything was centralized. There was only one company that had one entity that covered all, or one regulatory framework that covered all the length and breadth of the country. Nigeria is large enough, so the fact that we are decentralizing it, we hope that it's going to improve the system. Because you also have such systems even in the UK where Scottish Power, they have a different entity that runs the Scottish Power SSE. So this helps because it helps in proper monitoring and ensuring, like all this maintenance we are talking about. When you make the system more decentralized, it's easier to follow up on things. You don't need someone to stay in Abuja to follow up what is happening in Michael. I'm just using the term. So decentralization, yes, incorporation of renewable energy sources. We are trying, but I think we still need to increase efforts in that regard. We have solar thoughts here, but I think government should also be interested and also be more involved than it is in terms of granting more incentives. Because actually the seed, is it this, what's that? Well, not seed, the capital, the capital costs that you need the sink, what's the word? Is it the seed fund or something? It's a bit high, but over time, economically it becomes better. But maybe if government encourages people to also utilize renewable energy by providing some incentives, maybe to help so that we don't all end up everyone relying on the grid. What other thing? So Kelvin already spoke about maintenance. In terms of facilities, yes, obviously we need to build more facilities to take power uh, to the old woman in the village, the old man at the kiosk. Provide them with alternatives. We can do cross subsidy where the rich will pay or subsidize for the poor. It's possible. So that at the end of the day, the supplier is not at the receiving end of whatever subsidy. The supplier should always be in a place where it gets back, or he or she gets back his or her investments if you want that business to stay afloat and meet the the demand. So by and large, I've talked about incorporation of renewable energy. I've talked about decentralization, like what we are trying to do under the Energy Act, Electricity Act. We hope it works. We talked about making the system cost reflective, obviously metering, seeing to it that everyone is metered in this country. This estimated billing that we are still having, even in a place like Lagos, it doesn't work because to a large extent, even when they pay these estimated bills, sometimes that money really doesn't go to the entity. Sometimes because it's not a smart system where everything is monitored real time. They go get kickbacks and they don't get the money back to the disco that needs to remit to the Genco. Genco remits to the gas supplier. So the metering has to be really given adequate attention. Everybody should be smartly metered. So that bill collection will no longer be a situation where NEPA in quotes will go around with poles. Sometimes they get beaten. Can you imagine? The system cannot work like that efficiently. Yeah, so when you have this smart system, it will help to, aside from metering, it will help to block loopholes, here and there, monitoring and all of that. So this and a few others. And obviously, conversation about security, vandalization of our facilities, we need to discourage it. So this is not just a government thing. We, the citizens, we are also required to give in our own support. Um, I mean, citizens going around vandalizing critical infrastructure. You don't see this in developed countries because your question was we are trying to compare notes with what happens in developed countries. So yeah, these are a few, and I guess there are other considerations that first world countries or developed countries in like are practicing or put different from what we are doing. And I believe if we incorporate this into our system, perhaps there will be marked improvement. Thank you.
All right. Thank you
All
so
right.
much, Mr.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sirs, for helping out with our answer. Please, do we have more questions?
Yes, please, I have a question.
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, my name is Chuma. I'm a lawyer, and I would like some sort of explanation. Okay, for example, I'm working on a transaction that involves renewable energy, and it's in line with a mini grid, but there is some sort of variation in the transaction. So it got me introduced to a concept called a mesh grid. So basically, it's a form of decentralized way where power is generated from maybe a hub that uses a lot of power. For example, a hotel or a hospital or a just an entity that uses a lot of power. Then whenever there is an extra amount of power, it is now distributed to every other small houses or smaller houses that needs them. So this when Mr. The second mentor, sorry for I didn't get your name. The second mentor was talking about licensing regime. It got me really interested because we know that there are different types of licensings that are given to any entity that wants to come into Nigeria distribute or transmit or generate power. So I would like to ask, what sort of license would such entity require to be able to, because we don't know, I don't know if it's generating for it. It's in line with this whole using new technology to transform our traditional energy methods. So what's seen as in this licensing regime, what kind of licenses would it require to be able to, for a house to generate its own power, maybe through solar, then distribute to every other person? Because it's as I was reading through on the topic, it was a bit confusing for me. I don't know if you get my question.
All right, thank you so much for asking that question, Chioma. Please, Mr. Inyang, I think some of what she was pointing out were some of the things you highlighted within your presentation.
Yeah.
So, sir, please, can you give help clear the air on that question?
Okay, thanks very much. So basically, what's the explanation you gave now? Basically, it's giving a picture of embedded generation. So under the extant laws, there's captive generation. I believe you would have already known that. So you are painting the scenario. I am an entity, let's say a hotel. I have excess power, right? Let's say I am generating, my generator is generating less than 1 megawatt, right? For my own personal use, I don't need a license. Agree? Yep. So, but if I am now generating more than 1 megawatt and I want to supply surplus power from that generator that exceeds 1 megawatt to a third party, maybe a house near me, I need to apply for a generation license. First things first. And that being said, if I am going to now distribute it to that entity, because I am now in the business of generating electricity for a third party that is beyond 1 megawatt, I need a generation license. And in this case, it's going to be embedded, because I don't think I'm going to, in this kind of arrangement, you are not going to have a separate distribution facility. Everything will be embedded in a situation that you can just, if the house is next to you, right? All you need is just the person to tap the light from your facility. But if you want to pass it through a distribution network, you would, because the law, you cannot operate both generation and distribution or transmission under one entity, but you can set up a subsidiary. I don't think the capacity that you're talking about here, that generator is interested in setting up a distribution facility. So let's say the third house, the other house, the person is trying to supply the power to beyond 1 megawatt, right? So if it is beyond 1 megawatt, the generator, the generating entity or house or person would need a generation facility, generation license. However, if what he or she is generating is less than 1 megawatt and what he or she wants to give out to a third party is less than 1 megawatt, the person does not need a generation license. The person would just need a mere permit from the NEC. You still need to let NEC know before you supply power. It's more like an approval, sort of. It's not a license. License only comes if you are generating beyond 1 megawatt. And if you are distributing through a distribution line, it's either you set up your own distribution line or you use an independent electricity distribution network, IEDN, or you can sell it to a disco. But in this case, my understanding is that it's not going through a disco. You are going to use, if the house is not next to you, then you are going to use a distribution line, which means you can now, is it like you set up a distribution company, a subsidiary that will now obtain a distribution license from NEC. Otherwise, you can go to meet a distribution company that has a distribution facility within your area to now connect to use their electric distribution facility to take that power that is bought by the off-taker to that person, the other person's house. But if that other person's house is close to you, you don't need a distribution license. All you just need is to get a generation license, more or less an embedded generation license, off-grid in this instance, because you're not plugging it to any grid, you're not using any IDN. The person is just next to you, gets the power direct from you. I don't know whether I answered your question.
Yes, you really, really did. I think you really broke it down. Thank you very much, sir.
No problem.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Obo, for helping out with that answer. Do we still have any more questions? I think we have shot past our time. We'll just be taking one more question if there is any. Okay. I want to assume we don't have any more questions. So I want to use this opportunity to say a big thank you to our both mentors, Mr. Okeogene and Mr. Uboho, for helping us run through today's class on the power industry. You people shared some very, very valuable tips within very practical examples on how we can better the power industry, what the power industry situation currently looks like, and what we should be doing moving forward. So thank you so much to our mentors. Thank you to the group members to the participants for actively participating in class. Well done to the group, to the two presenters. You did a good job. Right. We look forward to having more cooperation from you in subsequent classes. Please, we don't want an instance where we are in session and we don't have mentees to present during class. Presentation are equal parts of our sessions, and we do it for your sake to ensure that you are also a part of the learning process and you are becoming better. So with this, we've come to the end of today's session. Please kindly share what you have learned on your different social media platforms. Tag our mentors, tag Gypsy, right? Do well to fill the attendance for those that were in session. And do see you all next week. Pay attention to the group. The new task for the week will be sent, I think, by the end of today or early tomorrow morning. Irrespective, just watch out for it so that you can get straight to work and you will be able to beat the submission time. Thank you very much once again, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Okay, bye.